Yeah, so if he wins quarterfinals, he shaves his beard. He wins semifinals, he shaves his head. He wins the finals, he shaves his eyebrows.
Okay.
There's an idea for him. I hope he runs with it.
And then we just have an egg join European Grandmasters, I suppose.
Yeah. Gregoriusil.
All right, well, it is going to be the Quest Mage up first for Greg, which I do think is in a difficult spot versus the OTK Demon Hunter because they don't have that much disruption available. But as we just saw this matchup with Dizdemon versus Super Fake a while ago, something that the Mage has is access to armor, that those slight additional breakpoints can actually delay the Demon Hunter by an entire turn. And making sure you can have the back-to-back ice barriers, or at least forcing Dizdemon to choose between getting card draw from Tusk Piercer or proccing the ice barrier is a big deal.
Yeah, it is. And then there's sort of not the same thing from the side of the Demon Hunter, but also this situation where you get into late game where the Mage tries to kill you in kind of one turn or force you to make the decision to heal or to kill you, right? And they always have like big bursts of heal at their disposal to try and stop a 2-turn lethal setup.
Yeah, that is very true. But then it starts to get in the situation too, where if you use too many combo pieces, you lose some of the breakpoints, and then the ice barrier comes back in the situation, right? Mage effectively at 37, 36 health. But Dizdemon here just going to go for the glide, which he discovered a while ago. Not able to outcast it, but it's not really a big benefit to outcast at the moment because Greg's only on 4 cards. For Dizdemon, it's all about shuffling back that honestly pretty awful hand pre-glide with too many combo pieces and too little card draw. Gets the sigil for this one, so next turn looking pretty likely to keep progressing the quest. Whereas for Greg, actually manages to pick up an Oasis ally, which is pretty nice. It's another frost spell that doesn't interrupt playing barrier.
Yeah, which is a big deal. We saw the situation come up in the top 16 match that we saw where Super Fake passed over it for guaranteed quest completion and looked like could have regretted it, but Greg just going to take it. And his hand's starting to shape up a little bit, right? Encounter's flow picked up, which I feel like is kind of a necessity in this matchup, at least at some point in the game, right? To get cheap ignites. Oh, well.
Indeed, that is an insta-glide here in outcast position, disrupts Greg, and on average, if you shuffle back a discovered card, that makes the draw pool for the Mage a little bit worse as well, so ideal timing for Dizdemon there, and he is just one more set of draws away from getting Kurtrus. It's very fast, and Greg readjusting the camera, trying to figure out what his win condition is from here. At least he picked up an AI after the glide, so he's able to still maybe get his own quest rolling.
Yeah, but losing the flow could be a big deal, and the other cards besides the Arcane Intellect are pretty terrible, to be quite honest.
Dizdemon with a little bit of a grimace before he swung because he thought that was Ice Barrier as the secret. He saw the frost tick up on the quest, but now he knows for sure it's Oasis ally, which is pretty good for him because he gets to get his card draw from the weapon, which he really needed to make sure the quest is done next turn, and not give Greg any armor.
Yeah.
Fire and Frost lacking.
Yeah.
Thing is, only one of those could target the one thief, and I do agree it's probably the Brain Freeze.
Well, maybe you don't do either, and next turn, Disney is not going to kill this, right? Well, maybe with an Immolation Aura, and then next turn you could Brain Freeze non-comboed, and then First Flame it?
Maybe, but there is the slight chance it dies. I'm almost never willing to take that. And the reason I would default to Brain Freeze over First Flame is that usually you have other fire spells that don't need minion targets to progress your quest, but as it happens with Greg's current hand, the card that doesn't need a target right now is Ice Barrier, and that's a frost spell, so he uses the First Flame instead.
Yeah.
Okay, double. Oh my goodness. Another one! Alutamu, eat your heart out. Disdemon's also a triple glide gamer.
Yeah.
I mean, Alutamu did it for Outcast 3 times, so actually it's Dizdemon who still needs to get on Alutamu's level.
Yeah, needs to work on the glide tactics a little bit. Dumps the Immolation Aura before the glide as well. Doesn't want to draw that. Pretty useless card. They usually end up dumping anyway, but that's Kurtrus complete, and that kind of resets Greg back to trying to formulate a new game plan with the hand. Still needing the Frost Spell, but knows to be able to get it once Kurtrus hits the board, but you really don't want to be on the back foot like that, having to respond to your opponent's quest without having yours completed. So, high pressure.
And the fact that Dizdemon has gotten Kurtrus already without Greg having an Ice Barrier this entire time, Greg is permanently on 28 here. Like, if there's any other secrets played, Dizdemon is no longer going to attack face, and that means that he doesn't need all the combo pieces for Il'gynoth, right? There's a lot of different combinations that can do it now. Plus, Dizdemon's deck is still very stacked with card draw. Both the acrobatics still in there. Very high draw quality from this point. So Greg really needs a miracle. I'm looking at this Spring Water as a decent discovery here. He can keep drawing. He's going to have a flow online as well, so maybe he can try and get the Varden online and go for the kill in about 3 turns time. Oh man, that's too late.
That's a long time. That's a very long time.
Can't even finish quest this turn, can he?
No.
The Ice Barrier that he was planning to use to finish this layer of quest was shuffled back by the glides, so the entire game plan kind of falls apart now. He will at least have a guaranteed target with the Flurry, because Dizdemon is almost certainly going to play Kurtrus this turn, but that's only layer 2 of the quest, and by then Dizdemon will happily be picking up his own lethal combinations. I think this is as simple as Kurtrus I-Beam or Kurtrus Trade the Peddler. Maybe the trade's a little bit better.
Yeah, but then the I-Beam starts to get over towards the left side of the hand, but... Oh, double jump. Okay.
I see.
Still has 1
Spectral
Sight, 1 I-Beam.
Rolls the I-Beam here, which I guess is the worst of the 2 outcomes. The fact that he used all the glides early gave him good shot of getting Spectral Sight, but not to be here. So Greg just going to get to layer 3 of the quest now. Another flow? Sign me up for that.
Can't play the Dawn Grasp this turn, though.
True.
Whereas if he were to pick, like, Refreshing Spring Water and pick up, you know, like a Primordial Studies, would be able to get it, but I think you just do it anyway.
Yeah, I mean, even though the Dawn Grasp is a bit slower here and it looks a bit weird to pick flow if you're gonna have to play Spring Water before you flow, the whole idea here is to just end with a cram session in hand and then play the flow and have that insurance for when you get Arcanist Dawn Grasp online, you can just draw your entire deck, which costs nearly nothing by this point. Doesn't end with a cram session, so that plan isn't set in stone, but it's still a decent turn, and right now Dizdemon doesn't have the big card draw right now. He has a tradable, but still looking for acrobatics.
Yep.
I have proven myself. I demand answers.
One thing that the flow does do is allow Greg to discount the Ignites that he's going to shuffle in to the deck to go for bigger bursts. Picked Guild Trader as well from Primordial Studies, which allows for even more burst, highest spell damage. That would be +5 to the spells that are in play with the Dawn Grasp effect on top of that.
Zero cost Moarg picked up for Dizdemon. That's pretty big, but he needs this Peddler to get him acrobatics. Otherwise, he's going to have to use some of these combo pieces for removal, but there's Il'gynoth now and not nearly enough mana to pull off lethal. So question is now, how many of these pieces are superfluous? It's I-Beam and not Fell Scream, which makes it much more difficult to achieve the lethal, I think.
Demons?
If he holds on to everything, I think there is a lethal capability. Assuming you can get both I-Beams outcast from the right side. No, not quite. It's only 24, right? You can't fit in the Arcanist as well.
Yeah.
He's gonna go Moarg I-Beam here. Still quite a few combo pieces here. removes any threat of counter lethal on the other side. And now Greg faced with the decision of, is it ignites and then flow, or is it flow and then trade the guild trader to try and get cram session? Because even though you can discount the ignites going back in your deck, you don't guaranteed get card draw. And even if you draw back a super cheap ignite, one at a time is not enough to close out the game. So I do like this decision from Greg, although he doesn't get cram session.
Yep. And now both players are in that awkward position where they have their quote-unquote combo pieces from Greg's perspective, but none of the card draw to actually piece it all together to go for the kill.
Getting so weird. With an I-Beam, Dizdemon might even put together a weird breakpoint where the hero powers become relevant, because if he's been keeping track, he still knows that this is an Oasis ally that's just never been procced since the beginning of the game. But now there's no need to worry about breakpoints. He has Guild Trader, so this is lethal, right?
30, yeah.
Yep,
30.
exactly 30.
Exactly 8 mana. Yep, check, check, and check. 30 damage.
A lot of hasty lethals, but this one I am 100% sure of. Because what happens is you get +4 spell damage total from Arcanist and Guild Trader, and then Fell Scream. Oh no!
What?
Fell Scream with the +4 spell damage, assuming you have 3 targets, deals 15, and then the Moarg doubles that to 30. So this is missed lethal. I'm so scared of
Hello?
I got really like called out for it yesterday. But Greg, is there a window of hope now? Not really. Not enough damage, I don't think. Maybe the Ruined Orb, can that do anything?
Not enough.
And if Greg just sees Dizdemon float 7 mana, what kind of read does he have? Surely he's thinking most of the lethal pieces are there, otherwise he would have just kept drawing cards.
Yeah.
None of these really help. I guess it's Wildfire.
Yeah, Mirror Entity is actively hurting you as well, because you just play the Moarg first, your opponent gets free extra spell damage, so that's a detriment.
That's a trap for sure.
You brain freeze your own minion to play around, like if Dizdemon was missing a little bit of damage, an I-Beam to get over the line. So
yeah, I love that. Don't leave any targets on board, just in case he needed another I-Beam target. As it turns out, I mean, I think Dizdemon was calculating with I-Beam in mind, but he didn't need it. Yeah. Here's the 30.
Yeah, and he's gonna see, wait a second, I have 1 mana left. What happened? Oh well, he got there in the end. He at least he knew it was 30 damage, right? But yeah, probably calculating with the I-Beam or thinking the Fellscream Blast maybe cost 1 or had 7 mana, right? A lot of things, a lot of calculations could have gone awry the previous turn, but did get the Demon Hunter over the line, and that's a pretty big one, right? But I think the Warlock is what we're looking at as far as maybe the weak point for Dizdemon against Greg.
That's right. If we were to look at Greg's lineup on paper, I think it's meant to have 3 out of 3 remaining decks that are favored versus Warlock, and 2 out of those 3 were favored versus the Demon Hunter, in my opinion. It was the Mage that had a poor matchup versus Demon Hunter. So in that regard, it was quite good for Dizdemon to get the Demon Hunter in its good matchup right away. But from here on out, we know that the Warlock doesn't really have any leeway to escape if things go according to how they look on paper. But Dizdemon is going to move to his Quest Mage first, and we'll see if Greg has decided to queue up the Mirror, because this one is a very fun one, in my opinion, that kind of goes against the kind of fundamentals of Hearthstones in terms of building your own tempo and removing your opponents.
Yeah, you build your tempo and then you remove your tempo so that your opponent can't get tempo off of your tempo. The best I can do.
Yeah. That's accurate, and I also think you also take any additional discovered burn you can that's available to you, because damage permanence is very real in this matchup. You will never proc your opponent's ice barrier under any conditions, I think. Even if you manage to get a Varden online, it's never ever going to attack more than once, and Varden does not deal more damage than Ice Barrier compensates in terms of armor. So if you can pick up even a Wildfire early on and weave in the pings, that could be relevant. You don't necessarily even need to get Arcanist Dawngrasp to win the game if you can hit Ignites back-to-back, Fireball, but card draw is very, very important here, because if you chuck all that burn phase, there's no guarantee that you're going to draw the last remaining burn off the top of your deck.
Yeah. Okay.
That is a fire-heavy hand for Dizdemon. Has Arcane now as well. And for Greg, this One Thief is a very important resource because it is a target for one of his eventual Brain Freezes that will not be dependent on Dizdemon leaving a minion on board. So I expect he's going to hold on to that until he has Brain Freeze.
Yeah. Okay, well, Arcane Intellect picked up. Nice pickup, like you said, card draw incredibly important. And Magtheridon is, I mean, in theory, you'd be like, oh, well, it creates minions that you can target your spells at. But those are also minions your opponent can target spells at. So,
yes.
Oftentimes quite dead unless you're desperate.
Mm-hmm. And nowhere near desperation yet for either player. They have a decent representation of all the spell schools and a decent amount of card draw as well. Greg just gonna chuck the Fireball face. That's never going anywhere else in this game, so might as well be mana efficient. The studies might have to be used with an early cram session. I don't mind that in the Mage Mirror, because right now he's still lacking the Frost spell school, whereas this demon had the barrier to fill out layer 1.
Chucking fireballs.
How Hearthstone was meant to be played, TJ.
Yeah.
Tutorial, they give you Fireball off the top as Jaina, and you're only supposed to send it one place.
Yeah. I actually didn't even know that, because it's been a very long time since I played the tutorial. Since they did the rework, the new player rework, I went back on a fresh account and just played through it from rank 50 just to try and see what it was like.
Do they not give you Fireball off the top anymore?
Don't remember. That was like a year and a half ago or something. It was quite a long time. But just for the sake of that anecdote, yes, it does.
Great. I'd hate to say something inaccurate yet again, even though my knowledge is from approximately 7 years ago. When I first played the Hearthstone tutorial.
Time flies when you're fireballing face.
Mm-hmm. Although this game is going very, very slow for Greg. All of these discovers, all the Rune Orbs played, and not a single playable Frost spell offered. So he is stuck on Quest Layer 1. And the One Thieves, like we said, if you're not guaranteed to be able to get rid of them immediately with your own Frost spell, ideally, then they're just a liability on board. So now Dizdemon has full initiative because he's on Layer 2 of the quest. If he wanted to, he can get the Flurry to have targets by playing Magtheridon, but as we've already talked about, that possibly benefits Greg even more.
Yeah.
Rune Orb AI, yeah?
Yeah. Well, he's already got one. But he's already got a Primordial Studies, and Counterspell is a little slow, so yeah. When in doubt, card draw.
It's a very clunky hand. It always looks like this when you don't get the flow, and it feels like the AI is redundant, but it's just more chances at spells that actually progress this quest, because right now he's looking for a Frost spell for Layer 2. Finally, a Brain Freeze picked up for Greg, so he's free to play at least one Thief now. Rigged Fair Game is very interesting. I wonder if that's ambitious, but you could just say if you want to ping me every turn, that's very inefficient. So, yeah, kind of like it.
Yeah. And if I'm not mistaken, it doesn't have a spell school. That's one of the secrets that is just neutral spell school, I guess that's what you would call it. Yep.
Yeah.
So, we'll give over maybe not give over some information if there was quest progress, but Dizdemon could do so. But like you said, there may be a turn where pinging face just isn't an option.
There was an arcane spell played before the secret, so Dizdemon can't rule out, right? Oh, wait. I'm not sure whose quest we're hovering over anymore. But, like, basically, if Dizdemon saw that there was nothing on the quest, and then a secret was played and nothing still got progressed, then he can rule that out to be specifically Rigged Fair Game, I think.
Yeah.
Every other secret has a spell school. In that case, he might want to allocate some mana for pinging face.
It's so expensive with only 6 mana available, though.
It's true. He could still first target his Thalnos, and if he picks up, like, any burn spell, an ignite perhaps, you chuck that face instead, I suppose. Doesn't find it. Take a lab partner, which... Yeah, he is gonna ping face. He knows it's Rigged Fair Game, but that means he's on a full hand right now, which is a little bit scary.
Yeah, in a full hand with a First Flame that replaces itself, 4 card draw sources, a tradable, and a Magtheridon. It's a very awkward hand, and a Flurry that probably won't be able to be used.
Another Ignite, sign me up for that. Greg should know this is Ice Barrier as well, so no need to like test anything strange. Going to progress his own quest here. Strangely enough, he is lacking Arcane because I don't ideally want to cram session pre-Varden, but that's what the Phoenix is for. Picked it earlier on. With both players hovering around the 20 health breakpoint and both players with access to early ignites, this might not even turn into a Varden game. I could see this just be a race to the face with multiple ignites. The damage stacks up really quickly, and if you have to waste mana playing spells from other schools, you might just fall behind. But Dizdemon, it looks like he's going to go for the Magtheridon, so he finally has targets for the Flurry.
I guess just needs to get things rolling.
Player 2 complete.
Ooh.
Another Fireball. Yes, I think so.
Okay.
You could say Ally is the last Frost spell he needs for layer 3, but I find it incredibly slow. I am just tempted as Dizdemon here to start chucking Ignites Fireball face, and then because he has so much card draw, maybe he can win off of natural Ignites.
Does go with Ally though, so has his eyes on quest completion over just trying to burn him down. And maybe that's because of the Spice Bread Baker in the list.
Maybe, yeah.
For Greg. You know, it's much harder to get there if you know that at any point Spice Bread Baker could come down and ruin your game plan. So he goes for the more, I don't even want to call it efficient, but more guaranteed type of win condition, but it is expensive.
You bring up a good point, but the counterpoint of Dizdemon does not have a Baker of his own is very true here. So for Greg, while he has this +2 spell damage from the Phoenix, again, I just want to go Ignite here. I mean, with the hot streaks, and then you can also fit in the cram session, get as much card draw as you can, more chances at Ignites. Just skip Varden, don't need it.
Could even flow to discount the ignites that he's shuffling?
True.
Would still have enough mana if he went for Hot Streak again?
It means not killing the lab partner though, potentially, which is a little bit scary. Any amount of spell damage here. Looks like he's just going to hold on to Hot Streak here and not even play the cram session. So this I'm a little bit concerned about, because now if your Phoenix gets removed, what are the odds you actually draw back enough fire spells? With the cram session only drawing 1.
Yeah.
It's going to be Dawn Grasp and then cram session. So it's not only going to draw 1, but it's a lot of mana you have to preload before playing the cram session. Super close.
Yeah.
Well,
picked up the brain freeze. The Oasis ally was useless. Oh.
Feels bad. And the cram session getting used for 1 here, it looks like. 2, sorry. The lab partner still on the board. Into Dawn Grasp of Dizdemon's own. Which might just be 1 turn too slow, but it is very likely lethal for Dizdemon on the backswing if Greg doesn't find the kill this turn.
Time runs out on me.
And there's a rigged fair game. I forgot about that. It's just been disrupted by Dizdemon this entire time.
Oh?
So Flurry, Dawn Grasp, Spring Water, Cram Session, Hot Streak, all the ignites, or most of them already cost close to nothing, right? Because of the flow.
Yeah, there's 3 ignites in the deck. Right? Didn't you have 2 discovered ignites? Am I not
I
crazy?
think so. Yeah.
I have proven myself.
Just high density of burn damage here. So it's just about trying to create hand space now, which he can do by shuffling 1 ignite back. Yeah, play the cram session, draw the perfect 4. And all he needs is 1 ignite now. Assuming it was one of the buffed ones, but it's only buffed by 1 here, so he's now 1 short? Really? That's... Oh, spell damage!
Studies? Lab partner?
Lab partner's lethal. It's not lab partner though! No mana! Oh my goodness!
There's 1 discounted ignite left, right?
There is,
But it's only
but
5.
it's not buffed! It's not buffed!
No
That
way.
means this demon has to find counter lethal this turn. I said it was very likely to happen, but what do I know? I thought Greg had it for sure. Hot Streak, Ignite, Refreshing Spring Water. Actually, do you flow? Maybe you flow. Skip the Spring Water and go flow cram session.
Ignite first and then flow
Yes.
cram session?
I'm not sure, honestly, what the right order is here. Because if you Spring Water, you might not have enough hand space to go for the cram session. How big are these ignites? This one
They're
deals
just-
5.
They're just base, right?
Okay. So now he has to ignite again and then cram session and then pick up another one. And that would only be 6 damage, but that is...
Oh no, that's a +1.
Okay.
So could
Okay, that's a
flow
plus
cram session and draw the 7 cost.
Yes.
Or cram session and hit 2, which is probably more
Or-
likely.
Or hit a 6 and ping. He only needs 1.
My hand is too full.
Oh!
It's 5!
Runor, 2 mana left, another... nothing! He's
What?
off 2! The ping is all he can do. Both players, 1 off lethal on consecutive turns, but it happens to pan out in Greg's favor this time.
It ends with 3 ignites in hand. Oh my goodness. Plus a cram session as well. Had like infinite damage that turn. That was insane, but Greg ties up the series 1-1 in one of the closest mage mirrors I think I've ever seen. Sometimes they can come down to that because it gets messy towards the end when both players have limited mana. But I think those turns were played correctly, at least from what we could deduce. It was just both players whiffed when they needed to hit multiple damage spells.
They both went with the consistent game plan of progress quest, delay your opponents for as long as possible. There's of course alternate lines of skipping over the Varden entirely, which I feel like is warranted if you have enough card draw, but I can understand not going for it because sometimes you come up a little bit short in terms of burn damage. But I can't even tell who got unluckier there because Greg had such a high density of ignites, but he didn't hit the ones that dealt enough damage, whereas Dizdemon, when he went for his cram session, he needed either just the fireball, right? Or one ignite and a ping. And it happened that the fireball was burned and he didn't find an ignite at all. It's just crazy how that works out. But that does mean that the mage gets a win for Greg, which is not an overall disaster for Dizdemon in my opinion, because I felt like the mage was kind of favored to get the win at some point versus the handlock. But Greg now has a little bit more flexibility, I suppose, of his remaining decks. Maybe they can pick on the mage before they go up versus handlock. Aggro Druid is the choice here, and he is running the Dreaming Drake, a very cool tech card.
Yeah, it is. What is it even taking the place of, though?
No neophytes in this list?
No neophytes. Okay. But yeah, it does offer you that kind of huge board potential multiple turns sooner than, say, the Teacher's Pet Greybow interaction. Also because the way it works is when you play the Battle Guard and reduce the cost of it, it'll get corrupted at its cheapened cost, so you can corrupt it a lot easier.
Yes, that's right. It does kind of sometimes mess with your mana efficiency because a lot of the time you're trying to play Battle Guard and then on turn 3 immediately the 1-cost card, and then it takes a little bit more to both corrupt the Dreaming Drake while you have the discount aura from the Battle Guard and then play it all together. Usually about 5 mana to do that, in which case you might have rather played, say, the Battle Guard plus a Teacher's Pet, but there is flexibility to be had there, and also just having minions in the 3-cost slot that aren't Oracle of Elune is something that Druid used to lack, right? Just on-curve plays that they don't feel bad about wasting. Versus Mage, though, the main priority, I would say, is playing around Fire Sale as best as possible, which gets a little bit harder without Neophyte, but the Aug Merchants do help.
Yep, sort of a similar interaction to like Soul Ren when you're playing against Warlock. Just a little bit easier to maneuver around because of the increased health.
Noitron's a good pickup just to smoothen out the curve here, because if not, he was just looking at Aug Merchant pass. With this hand, all he wants to do is just get a decent composting, which, you know, doesn't necessarily play around Fire Sale, but if there is a Fire Sale, you're kind of just saying, at least I'll have the refill.
Yeah.
Whereas for Dizdemon, the Ice Barrier looks pretty great here, just on curve, progress quest, save a bit of health total, just try to bridge that gap until the Refreshing Spring Water, which is what he will use to look for the Fire Sale most likely. Ooh. That seems like bait. I think you should take the 3-minion composting.
Yeah. Yep. One of the ways you can end up, you know, getting counter snowballed on is by getting greedy with your composting, and then out of nowhere the mage clears your board, even if you don't necessarily expect Fire Sale. Sometimes just like First Flame plus Brain Freeze can be enough to pick apart the board state. So yeah, I agree. I like the fact that he just goes ahead and gets the composting down while it's good enough, and then might be able to pick up some more synergy with this Battle Guard, and then could follow that up with Arbor up. So I think this is pretty good game state for Greg right now.
Nice restraint from Dizdemon there. I think a lot of the time, if I were autopiloting, I would just use the first flame ping and then other second flame. But then he kind of waited to see what he would get off of his first quest completion. Turned out it was AI. Perfect usage of mana. Prioritizes that. Because while removing the Pack Mule seemed decent here, it's not overall helping the long-term game plan of eventually finding the Fire Sale. It's a lot of shields though. And if Blood Knight were still in Standard...
Oh! The Blood Knight tech, how I miss thee.
We're just talking about Shade of Naxxramas the other day, hitting me with all the nostalgia.
Oh yeah, missed that card. And just the conversations that could be had talking about player personalities based off when they attack with Shade of Naxxramas and how long they just let it build up on the board.
It's the Hearthstone version of the MBTI test. You know?
Yep, exactly.
Well, studies picked up for Dizdemon here. The mini mage is an interesting prospect because Druid has zero way of interacting with that, although it was very off-card for Dizdemon here, so I think he just takes the Kobold so he can have at least a 2-draw cram session. Not this turn, though.
Yeah.
Fire Sale!
Ooh, there it is.
Off of Rune Board. That's filthy. Doesn't take it! Really? Interesting.
Huh. I guess the Divine Shields make it awkward and potential Arbor up? And just throws out the Geomancer as well. But Arbor's going to come out. Another Arbor up in hand as well. This is going to be a lot of damage.
I mean, even with the 3 Divine Shields, I feel like Fire Sale is your best answer to an Arbor up. Like, you ping one of these, Fire Sale, leave up 2 Annoyatron. But, okay, here it is.
There you go.
Because he has Hot Streak, he can choose to Refreshing Spring Water first. But I think it's probably not going to get much better than just ping Fire Sale. So I would be tempted to just go for that. And Spring Water next turn.
What about Hot Streak Ignite ping Fire Sale?
Oh, it's true. You get rid of 1 additional minion, and you can choose that to be the Annoyatron that doesn't have the composting on it, thereby reducing Greg's immediate draw. Kind of like that. At the slight downside of shuffling another Ignite in your deck, which is not a particularly good top deck right now, but I think it's worth it.
Yeah. Yep, is going to go for it. Does in the other order. Hot Streaks to Fire Sale instead.
And I would have pinged the Battle Guard, not the Annoyatron there. That's another personality test.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah. Everybody does that play differently. But what does it mean?
Nothing, as it turns out.
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
Well, so the soil for another 2/2 here. I could see that if you've just seen a Fire Sale, maybe you go all in on this board and then try to get as many buffs with your Arbor up next turn. Dreaming Drake. Pretty cool, the corrupted version. I've honestly not even seen the art on this very often. Looks like Red Eyes Black
play
Dragon.
much Arena.
Okay, that flurry picked up ages ago by Dizdemon, mainly to make sure he could get Quest online, but now the Varden plus Cram Session looks very easy. I think he has solidly turned the corner here, even though there is still 6 attacking damage, which could turn into 12 attacking damage if there's another Arbor up. I don't think it's worth delaying Varden for.
No. It unlocks.
Oh, he goes...
Picking across the board.
So he goes Brain Freeze instead of Cram Session. A little bit mana inefficient, but a bit safer overall, which I think is a responsible play, right? He's taken the halfway approach of, if you go Varden, protect it and protect your face a little bit better. Arbor up here seems like the only choice, and I think you ship it face and cry if there's another Fire Sale.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Can Dizdemon find it? Only 1 left in the deck. He gets 4 draws here. And does not find it. He could look in the Wand Thief first. Or the Spring Water.
There's no flurries left either, right?
Don't think so.
Devolving Missiles? First Flame is a good way to pick apart the board, though.
Yeah, I love the First Flame here. With the Brain Freeze as well and Ignite, that's like only 1 minion left on board, counting the Varden trading into the Dreaming Drake, right?
Yes.
Very nicely
Without
done.
Arbor ups, 16 damage is a lot to get through for Aggro Druid.
To be fair, there's the 3 that'll still be going face and the Park Panther, so that's 6, but even then, 10 damage from hand, just not happening.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. I mean, it's something, and this is the last minion you're ever going to be able to attack into with the Park Panther. So,
Yep.
go with the composting and then hope.
Yep. Hope and cope here is the game plan for Greg, whereas for Dizdemon, he still has quite a long ways off of getting his own counter lethal, so he needs to find immediate removal for these minions, which, as you said, there's no flurries left, so it's not the easiest prospect. That's a fire sale, though. I expect this to be flow spring water first, though. Not flowing at all. Okay, it's just not an encounter slow gamer.
No.
But he has to fire sale this now. So it is still going to be flow, I think, in the end.
Whoa.
Or, okay. He's just all in on drawing right now. Skip the flow entirely. Ignite and barrier. Saves fire sale for a refill. I think this is a good middle ground, right? Since he picked up another option to stay alive on board. Holding on to this last fire sale could be crucial because he hasn't seen like an Elune from Greg yet.
Yeah, just worried about the one additional reload since that is the last bit of AoE.
1 mana short of being able to play the Grey Bow as well for Greg because the Battle Guard only cheapens the first taunt. And so Dizdemon, very happy about the fire sale, but there's a couple beasts that could ruin his day maybe. Jungle Panther, anyone?
It's just, there's no follow-up to the Jungle Panther. That's the problem, though. There's no composting anymore. There's no arbor up. There's no sow the soil to even just give it +1 attack.
There's a Grey Bow, though.
Okay, sure, yeah.
It's kind of just like saying, I have... Okay, it's not a Jungle Panther, but it's kind of this persistent problem that this demon's been having is that he's out of small removal, like small efficient removal, or even freeze effects like Flurry. So he's had to kind of overkill these boards from Greg, and if any one minion sticks, aside from our theoretical Jungle Panther, that could have represented lethal over 2 turns. And that's sort of what's happening now, even without the stealth effect. Like this demon, if he wants to clear these, has to fireball them. Okay, never mind. 1 flurry left. We did not count that.
Oh, yeah. For some reason, I thought he'd played both flurries at rank 1 because it still always shows them if they're played at rank 1.
Yeah, tracker
Or rank
still.
2. Yeah. One day.
Still doesn't recognize the rank spells. Oh well. I guess he discovered one, right? The one where we thought he'd pick fires.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. So that's where the second one came in.
But we can look at what's left in his deck other than flurries, right? 3. Yeah, there's exactly 8 cards disregarding the flurry. And there's 3 ignites. So there is enough burst damage to get there, but not enough card draw to do that immediately next turn. So I actually think that Greg is winning here.
Yeah, it's interesting. And, I mean, just like gaining 1 a turn with the hero power, dealing 1 a turn.
Yeah.
Makes things a little awkward. Because once you get to that fatigue point, if you don't have card draw, you're just drawing an ignite a turn. So it's not like hyper efficient or anything. And it's just going to throw 1 fireball, get the encounter slow out of the way.
Yeah.
And hold the flurry for 1 additional turn.
I think that's fine if he thinks that Greg is only going to develop 1 more minion this turn, which on average it's either 1 or 2, and you should be able to still prevent lethal, so you kind of get more bang for your buck out of holding the flurry. But it so happens he drew Pack Mule, the cursed Pack Mule, which represents 2 minions and the end of our stream temporarily.
Yeah.
So the flurry is not actually preventing lethal here on its own. I hope we can see what this demon's top deck is, because there was still a Ruined Orb in the deck, and that feels like his way to maybe scam a victory. Okay, a First Flame, big deal.
So now can isolate the 3 of these minions to get the flurry, but then still will need a Ruined Orb to do something, right?
There's a Magtheridon in the deck as well, but obviously cannot proc it, so that's a dead draw. Because we had the Pack Mule bug, we can't look at the remaining cards anymore, sorry. But I really don't think there's anything other than a Ruined Orb as an individual top deck that can pull Dizdemon out of this situation, because he only has the 9 in hand from the Fireball. And Greg's still very healthy here, gonna go back up to, I was gonna say 24, but Dizdemon's committing the Fireball now. In case that Ruined Orb leads to a chain of discovered effects, he wants to have all of the mana available.
What is it?
Greg's like, what do you got? Studies.
Steward of Scrolls?
Yeah, Steward of Scrolls into more freeze. Card draw. No, Ruined Orb, okay.
There it is. Okay.
Fireball
Now Cram
is lethal
Session?
here,
Oh yeah, Fireball or Cram Session. Or
but he misses, and that's it, right? Barrier
Yeah.
doesn't save him. He's on 4 right now.
Yeah.
Any devolving targets that make this doable? I don't think there's enough, right?
No.
What to do?
No.
Like, there's the 3 mana 4/8 that can't attack, but
And then two like 1 attack minions. The Divine Shield Poisonous at 3 cost.
yeah. But I
think
don't think
they're-
there's enough missiles. But
Yeah, there's not enough missiles. It would need to have been like 5 missiles to get to that point. Like 2 of them would have to go down to 3, and they were 5 costs. So Greg takes the victory, and at one point in that game, it looked pretty abysmal for him. Pretty much just top decking. And then the composting allowed him to at least have some reload potential to turn that he was able to play the Park Panther. And then from there was just play your cards and hope this demon can't find any answers. At that point, he was just out of targeted removal, essentially, and could only draw 1 damage spell a turn.
I think pretty well navigated by Greg. Even in a list without Neophytes, there is still disruption of a sort that he put together versus Dizdemon, which is like building enough threats every turn that it still required a fire sale because Arbor Up was too scary. But it wasn't so many threats that he didn't immediately have follow-up. Like, granted, it was a pretty fortunate outcome where after this rain of small minions got fire sailed, he immediately drew like the 5 cost cards, the highest end of his deck that put on more pressure. But for Dizdemon, like, I'm kind of going back to the question of the first Discover. Was that really not a 3rd fire sale? I feel like more AoE is always good versus Aggro Druid.
Yeah, because honestly, Flurry, outside of quest completion, right, when you're just worried about clearing boards, Flurry kind of does the same thing as Fire Sale, where, you know, you delay taking damage for a turn just at the cost of mana. To actually clear it. I think maybe a 3rd fire sale could have gotten there, but hard to tell at this point. And Dizdemon also just needs to forget about that game, move on. Libram Paladin is up next for Greg, so it's going to be the Libram Paladin versus the Mage.
And now this one, I think, is a terrible matchup for the Libram Paladin. It takes so long to get any real pressure going because your small minions are all within range of like Brain Freeze, Burst Flame. Once you start putting down the mid-sized threats, they get frozen. And then by then, the mage probably has completed their quest and then can kill you over 2 turns. Even if you do get to Libram of Hope, that's going to take up the majority of your turn. Maybe it takes 6 to 8 mana to play that. And mage is dealing that 8 damage for half the cost or even less. So in most situations, I think the mage has a leg up here. Paladin cannot afford to not play minions to prevent quest completion because that's your win condition. And also this hand from Greg is terrible.
Job done.
Yep. Libram of Justice is essentially useless in the matchup.
Yes.
Because you can't even say that it's 4 damage. Because, well, I guess you have to, I guess it is 4 damage because you got to attack the Ice Barrier with this deck at some point. But 4 damage for now, 5 mana. Obviously, that's going to be discounted at some point, I hope. But yeah, pretty Leandra drawn. Oh,
Oh man, Greg's already like, get me out of this one, dude. And I don't blame him because I honestly think Mage has an even better matchup versus Paladin than it does versus like Handlock, which is the deck you tend to bring Mage most often for. But the splash damage of having the good matchup versus Paladin is not to be ignored because there's a fair representation of Paladin in this tournament that you might not necessarily expect. Now on this Discover, I am willing to take another flurry here as Dizdemon. I'd even think about Snap Freeze. Just because there will be targets.
This means that he's gonna pick. Okay, I was gonna say this means that he's gonna pick the hot streak.
Oh wow, Cram for 1. Okay, this I didn't expect. Feels a bit early, but I kind of understand where his head is at because he did not have like a guaranteed frost target and he didn't have like ice barrier for turn 3, so he is just trying to keep the mana going steadily. But it is kind of a pain that both fireballs are in the hand prior to the encounter's flow because you do kind of want those to be cheapened as your one big kill before the Paladin can go for Libram of Hope later on.
Yeah. It's not quite as big of a health swing as, say, what Demon Hunters are capable of, which is an insane amount of healing. But at a certain point in the game, it feels like they can just chain them together turn after turn with a Liadrin in between. So you can't just, incrementally start throwing burn at the face and hope to be able to get the job done. You do tend to have to burst at some point or another.
Dizdemon has delayed flows more times than I've seen any other player do. Like, this instance, I can understand the reasoning behind it because it's going into turn 4 where Greg does actually have the capability to remove Wand Thief without having a minion on board beforehand. Like we see here, the Cariel or even Samuro. Samuro is not out of the question versus Wand Thief because Samuro, again, is another card that doesn't really do anything versus Mage, not enough minion targets. So Dizdemon wanted to kill his Wand Thief while he could get targets for the quest completion. And the flow just comes online one turn later.
Yep. Which is perfectly reasonable. Outside of the Night of Anointment, could you imagine a worse draw for Libram Paladin? Battlemaster, Liadrin, Samuro, Libram of Justice. Yes, against some matchups that's fine, but in this one in particular,
it is getting worse.
Cost 9.
Unbelievable. I guess we could throw Varian in there as well.
That's the next draw. You called it. If it is, I'm going to shave my beard.
Just during the series? During this game?
Yep.
All right. Gonna hold you to it.
Please don't be Varian off the top.
Springwater, pretty decent. He has the Brain Freeze for free to get rid of Cariel, which is really the only even remotely threatening minion here. And if the rest of the turn is just gonna be like ping, that's fine. The problem is allocating mana to get both these frost spells on different layers of the quest because I think he doesn't have any spell school for this current layer, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Shattering Blast?
Oh, nope.
Okay. Doesn't have Flurry right now.
Evocation could give him 4 Shattering Blasts.
True. And 0 flurries, so it's all useless.
Yeah.
Okay. So he goes about it in this way, just holds the Brain Freeze. That will always be able to target at least the Samuro next turn.
My beard is safe. It's banner.
For now, TJ.
No, that was it. It was just that turn.
Knowing you, I think you're going to throw out another one of those bets later on this series. We're only in game 4.
You're right.
Okay. So Brain Freeze, Ally can splash over to the next layer of the quest. I guess you just do it in the other order if you are playing both this turn.
What to do?
So the Brain Freeze actually deals damage. So maybe he's not playing Ally this turn.
Yeah, that's a little bit interesting.
Maybe this is an evocation turn. Oh, sorry. The Dawngrass is already this layer. That's my mistake. Yeah.
Well, it was mine as well. I didn't think he was that far in the quest, but gets Dawngrass down on 6, which is incredibly fast, especially given not the fastest start from Greg as well. You'd say, oh, well, that means you can complete the quest faster, but not having as many minions to kind of target. But yeah, completes the quest. At least this Blade Master Sambro will do something to be able to kill the Dawngrasp on the board.
Finally get some measure of pressure as well with the Truth Seeker. But this looks like too little too late because Dizdemon now is going to draw 4 cards with the Cram Session. A Flow has been played, 2 Fireballs in hand, which is, like I said a while ago, maybe a bit of a detriment because they are slow to get the burn together. But he can start shuffling Ignites back. Ruined Orb now costs 1 as well. Yeah. Looking good. I think just Fireball and Ruined Orb face looks decent here to me. This board next turn can be cleared up either by Fire Sale or a Magtheridon combination. Oh, another Ignite.
Oh, another Fire Sale. Yeah, it's Ignite. You just need to
Finally!
at this point.
Finally, this demon agrees with me on something. On a Discover. So the question now is it double Ignite rather than the Fireball, just so you have the highest density of Ignites in your deck, thereby improving your AI. Okay, it's Barrier plus Ignite, sure.
Try and sub some damage.
And yeah, it's just gonna be the Libram of Hope, 7 mana to heal 8, whereas Dizdemon is dealing 8 for like 3 mana. But it's not infinite.
No.
And currently there's no board space for Magtheridon to really get a lot of work done, so the 8/8 does present a couple problems for Dizdemon here. Freeze picked up though. So, even if he were to just say freeze the 8/8, he never dies, right? Even leaving 14 on board, there's just no way for Greg to have... Oh wait, sorry, he runs Battlemaster. I'm just seeing...
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, he is looking for Flurry here, ideally. And if not, it turns into a Fire Sale turn. Which is 6 AoE, so combined with an Ignite, can deal with one of the big threats.
Yeah, could deal with both. Actually, no. Not with the ping, right? Because you can Fire Sale Brain Freeze, but you can't fit an Ignite alongside it.
Right. It was either ping or Ignite. And in the world where you're moving the 8/8, the ping is just more efficient. That is not a personality thing. Oh, this is close to lethal. 8 damage. You can buff it to 8 to 9 with the Libram of Wisdom, so it's like 18 with the Battlemaster. Just gonna go for Liadrin though to get the Librams back immediately.
Ooh.
Oh.
If it's expensive though. He stopped because he wants to think if he should play the Hope first, and I guess it's just more power than getting all the Librams back anyway. So
True.
yeah, this makes sense. And then could Liadrin next turn get the Librams back in the hand of a doll? But can't Battlemaster in the same turn. But this still sets up a Battlemaster lethal regardless.
Still no Flurry for Dizdemon. That's insane. Like, Flurry at any point would have pretty much sealed this game.
Well, he did play one Flurry early on. He, on the Carol Rome. So there's only one left in the deck.
So it is just gonna be, I thought this was a Magtheridon, but I guess there wasn't enough mana, right? Even with the hot streak, you'd have to play a Fireball to get rid of a 1/3. So yeah, it is only Evocation that can save him here. Looking for freeze effects. There's a Shattering Blast, but that doesn't freeze by itself. There's a Cram Session though.
Yeah.
Which he hardly has hand space for, but no choice, I think.
Yes,
Barrier and then Cram.
And then you There's 7 cards in hand, right? Yep, 7
Yeah.
after this. So we'll overdraw 1.
Okay.
There's 2 ignites and just 2 ignites left in the deck as far as burn goes.
Yeah, there's a flurry. Okay, that's what he was looking for.
Ooh.
Oh man. Loses ignite. Kind of a big deal because the Liadrin now is actually, even though it was so slow, this hand from Greg, the Liadrin is regenerating healing. And Dizdemon, like, he has a lot of burn, but it's too slow is the thing. It's not 30 all at once.
Yeah.
Does he have a way to wake Magtheridon up efficiently? There's
There's
one
a
more
Fire
fire
Sale on
sale.
the deck.
Yep.
Yeah.
Feels like that's the out from this point because the Adrin's coming down.
Shatrak will not
Yes, this is.
fall in
He's played 5 wisdoms, 2 hopes, and a hand of a doll. He only gets 1 hope back.
Okay. That is fine, I think. Gonna go Justice, push the 1. Barrier takes him up to 21, but then down to 20 with a weapon swing. Lethal represented pretty much just on board with the weapon, but even more with the Battlegrounds, Battlemaster, of course, and all of these buffed Librams of Wisdom. This demon needs Fire Sale for Magtheridon or another Discover effect into like Devolving Missiles, something like that. It is getting surprisingly desperate, but he's very likely to find Fire Sale, especially with the AI, right?
Oh wait,
Or
that's
it's
just
just-
lethal setup with the Phoenix emerging. He just had it from hand with the Phoenix emerging. Oh.
Already big enough.
Yes, because it's plus 5 spell damage. So that ignite was. Wait, that ignite was 9 damage? Huh. That's kind of crazy. That ignite was shuffled back twice in order to get it. So wow, Dizdemon bringing this to a game number 5 with a lethal out of nowhere. And I honestly didn't expect, even with the plus 2 spell damage, for that ignite to be that much damage. I thought it was going to be 7 because I thought it was the basic ignite plus 5. But is able to get the job done. And now we are going to move to Libram Paladin versus Handlock, which is the weak point in Dizdemon's lineup. That's what it seemed like Greg was trying to target from the get-go. Dizdemon, pretty standard variation of Handlock. Does play the 1 Altar of Fire. I feel like about half of the Handlocks that we've seen so far, players that have had success throughout the Master Tour thus far, have had the Altar of Fire. Does have some decent decks in the metagame like OTK Demon Hunter that it could destroy some combo pieces. Also just lets you get through your deck faster to activate Bloodsharp Bristlebacks and Baron Scavengers. And it'll be Libram Paladin for Greg, and it's just the staying power of the Libram Paladin that is really what makes this a decent matchup. It's just having pretty resilient boards, the ability to be aggressive, kind of the same win condition as Handlock, where any minion that gets stuck on board at a certain point in the game can threaten lethal with Battlegrounds Battlemaster. The deck has a good amount of ability to sweep the board with Lord Barovin with Animated Broomstick, with Libram of Justice, Blade Master Samuro that's been buffed with Libram, so you can keep control of the minions from the Warlock. And here we go. Great opening hand for Greg. Aldor Attendant, Alliance Bannerman. Being able to get that early start. Obviously, this deck does not pack as much early game as the hand buff Paladin that we saw earlier from like Super Fake. But what it lacks in that regard, it makes up for in the fact that it does have removal and some late game stuff. Be able to come back if their early board does get thrown away.
Reporting for duty. Job done.
And can just roll right into the Bannerman. Dizdemon probably just looking at a life tap here. Don't think it's really necessary to accelerate quest completion in this matchup. You should just want to play standard until you realize that your win condition is going to be solely on the quest, which is very difficult at most stages of the game against Libram Paladin. Double Raise dead, but no real minions to get this going. If Dizdemon were to use the backfire here, would be at a full hand, it would have to dump the coin, and dump the coin would mean that Dizdemon would not be able to get down like in a Netheron, for example, if that were to be picked up. So just goes ahead and Life's Tap continues along. I wonder if he even wants to Mortal Coil this. It would replace itself, so it would still be at the maximum 10 cards next turn to be able to play the Null for 1, or a Netheron if it were picked up. But does go in part ways. Ah!
Really? It's not too heavy.
Sorry, didn't mean to scare you.
I've had a nightmare about this before. I'm just casting and enjoying some Hearthstone by myself. Really getting into it. And then Derek plops up behind me. Hello, TJ.
And then all my teeth fall out. It's the worst nightmare.
Hello, Derek.
Hello. Yeah, I've come to replace RoboGia for a while until she gets her ducks in order. Ducks in a row, whatever the expression is. Yes.
In order, yeah.
In
Ducks
order.
have a very specific order.
Biggest to smallest.
Yeah. All right. Really looking for something to go alongside this Null as far as threats go. This is
right.
Opening from Greg because he's just kind of collecting these big minions in hand with the double Bannerman. Also getting some Libram discounts, right? Both Alder attendants picked up. Looking for a Truth Seeker. Has not found one yet.
Yeah, both players are doing their cheapening very well, right? With tapping down to Flesh Giant being cheap, and of course using the Nathrasims, and then I imagine the Unstable Shadow Blast to get the Giants online nice and quick. The thing that I find, though, for Warlock is when you can really turn the tides of this matchup is that 10 cards or less threshold. The Bristlebacks allow you to just chew through Librams of Hope, and maybe the Varian as well, and the 1-mana 6/6s are just a little bit too much tempo often for Paladin to fight back against without their big AoE board clears. And so that's really what Dizdemon is going to be looking to get to as quick as possible, because for the moment, as you were saying, these are some pretty strong turns for Gregoriusil, or Greg, and it's going to need to be a robust response from Dizdemon.
Yeah, he's just Greg now.
Just regular Gregular.
I'm just Drew now.
I'm not calling you that.
So many possibilities.
All right. Okay, well, Altar Fire can accelerate that Baron Scavenger Bloodshard Bristleback. Already has 2 in the hand, but it's still a little bit of ways away. Coupled with the Backfire, though, we're looking very close to it. Coupled with Soul Rend, we're looking even closer. So, some big opportunities here for Dizdemon to have some powerful plays in the near future.
Indeed, quest level 1 completed as well. It's obviously a lot later than you would usually expect now with the most recent nerf, but it's a big difference, and it means that next turn, Flesh Giant, very much playable. Reasonable burns as well, nothing you're too sad to lose. And as soon as that Flesh Giant comes down, these Raised Deads are going absolute beast mode with very easily 10 or less cards in deck here. Next turn for Dizdemon, he obviously needs to be careful about overextending, given that Paladin does have some powerful board clears, but he can put forward a very, very threatening board, one that minions alone won't be able to answer for Greg.
I wonder.
And it has the board clear's sort of available, but right now with only one minion on board, like a Lord Brav or a Libram of Justice wouldn't clear up multiple big minions being played out. But it does have that, super powerful curve going on. Still would like some additional Libram reduction, but Varian can help with that, picking up a taunt minion, which could be that Aldor Truthseeker, to try and get some more powerful turns, right? Do multiple things in a turn instead of just playing one big minion.
Exactly, yeah. That's where things can get a lot tougher for Dizdemon. Unfortunately, though, he is starting to chew through these effects that can deal with Divine Shield. We've seen a Mortal Coil used, one discarded. I think that's the second touch of the Nathrazim used as well now. And so still, this Varian and this Librams of Wisdom are still annoying for Dizdemon, because he obviously really, really doesn't want to just send an 8/8 into a Divine Shield. But even having said that, it's still just such powerful turns coming through here that Gregorius cannot keep up with.
Yeah. A lot of damage, though.
A lot of damage, yeah.
This demon gets the Knoll back. Those are the only two minions that have died, I believe, were the Knoll plus the Flesh Giant. So now gets him back again, right? Because the tour guide was the only minion played, and gets back another Knoll, another Flesh Giant. Completes quest. Flesh Giants are going to go down to 0 and can just completely barf this hand onto the board.
He's got to be a little bit careful with his barfing, because he, as I said, doesn't want to overextend. It's that classic problem against any decks that run multiple AoEs. Because they use the first one very liberally, does that mean that they are less likely to have a second AoE because they have less in their deck now? Or does it mean they're more likely to have another AoE because they use the first one so liberally and aren't saving it for a big board swing? I think for Dizdemon, my instinct is to say you play one Flesh Giant and then just chill. A mini buff, as they say, and then just chill for next turn.
As the kids say.
Exactly.
And yeah, this variant's going to be pretty big, but it would still represent lethal because of the Shadow Blast, Trade, Bristleback, and then Battlemaster. Obviously, Greg doesn't know exactly what that is, but again, really, I mean, even if you Libram of Justice here or Lord Brav here, there's no follow-up to it. So it's got to be between Libram of Hope and Varian, and leaving a Flesh Giant on board just seems a little scary.
It does, yeah. Dictating where the Divine Shield goes with the rush is obviously a huge deal. And so I do favor this method of doing it for Greg. But again, as you said, he needs an activator for his Barrow or his Libram of Justice. And in the meantime, I think Dizdemon has the perfect grasp of how much to commit and how much to hold back for further threatening of another board. Yeah. Because here he's got the ability to...
lethal.
Oh, he's just got lethal. Okay, great, even better.
Yeah, Unstable Shadow Blast, trade over, Battlemaster, push 20. And there it is. It seemed like we've been in both matches that Dizdemon has played against these sort of, target or soft target Warlock strategies. It's like he has so much trouble with all of his other decks, and then actually cues the Warlock, which us as casters look like idiots for saying, it's the weak link in his lineup. It just wins easily both times with the Warlock, both in the top 16 and now in the quarterfinals, to move on to the top 4.
It's a difficult deck to analyze. Like, even in the practice groups, it feels like it's split down the middle of Warlock sucks and Warlock's great. And most people end up bringing it anyway, no matter how you feel about it, but you just hope that it gets there. And Dizdemon, I think if there's one thing we can say, his endgame there was just absolutely spot on. He knew exactly how to try and pick apart the Paladin's removal, hold just enough back for refill. And as we saw there, even with the Giant removed, he was still able to get the damage through for lethal. It's a huge win for Dizdemon and a huge win for the French Hearthstone community in general, who have a legacy to uphold here in the Masters Tour system.
That's right, and now we have 2 European players in the top 4 already, with Dizdemon and Bada Jimpon already waiting for their semifinal match. On the other side, though, we're not guaranteed to have an all-European semifinals. It's going to be 3, guaranteed.
It will be 3.
But that next quarterfinal is a Chinese player versus an Americas player. So, I mean, if Pun loses, it means yet again we have a European or Chinese